Hey guys, it's Biter, and I've got some more close quarters gameplay here for you guys. This is a round of Conquest Domination on Donya Fortress, and I'm using the AEK again, except I've got the laser sight equipped in that third attachment slot instead of the suppressor. And I think the laser sight is probably the best attachment to use on the AEK if you're going to use it on these close quarters maps, because having the increased hipfire accuracy is really helpful on these maps. And I mean, as you'll see over the course of this gameplay, I do a lot of hip firing, and the AEK has such a fast fire rate that, you know, when you add the laser sight to it, very few other guns or other weapons are going to be able to just outclass you when you're trying to hip fire. It has a really good hip fire, and so it allows me to take enemies out pretty consistently at close ranges. At least those enemies that aren't using, you know, weapons that have similarly good hip fire, because there are just very few weapons that can compare to the AEK in hip fire. And part of that is that it has such a fast fire rate, and I mean that does get me into trouble a little bit, because generally speaking I can't kill one enemy without having to reload my weapon. So you'll kind of see after each kill I get, I sort of have to duck down and get into cover and take myself out of the fight for, you know, a second or two, because the AEK does have a bit of a slow reload, and so that can get me into trouble a little bit. And I do have a tendency to spam bullets, I think, a little too much. Although on these close quarters maps it's really not such an issue, just because, you know, it's a lot of it's just a lot of the way gunfights are determined is just in reaction time. So, you know, the more bullets that you can put out there, the better. And with a gun like the AEK that has such a fast fire rate, generally speaking, you're going to be able to put bullets or shoot bullets a lot faster than your enemy is. And, you know, so generally speaking, you're going to win those really close quarter gunfights. And as you'll see, I almost never full auto with this weapon, or I almost never burst fire with this weapon. Almost all of the shooting I do is full auto, so it's not like I'm really trying to be careful with my aim. I really just, I have a tendency to spam bullets, as I said, with this weapon. And I think for these maps it's kind of okay, because they're so close quarters, and, you know, accuracy isn't quite as important. And I think somebody in my squad was running squad ammo, so generally speaking I didn't really run out of ammo at any point, which was good. I think the best squad perks to run on these maps are probably squad ammo, squad cover, squad sprint, and, you know, maybe squad flak. I think squad flak is probably a good one, because, you know, people like to put claymores down, and C4, and you know, you can never really go wrong with squad flak. You could run squad suppression as well, I think, but definitely squad cover, squad sprint, and squad ammo are really good to have, because those are, I mean, as I was talking about before, with just, you know, not really worrying about conserving ammo. With squad ammo, you definitely don't have to worry about that, and you can just concentrate on, you know, on taking out or using as many bullets as you need to kill the enemy that's in front of you. And squad sprint is really helpful because, you know, as I talked about before, I really have to reload after almost every single kill. So, you know, my ability to just get out of the area that I'm in as fast as possible is really helpful. And you know, you also just feel kind of, I think, or at least I feel like I'm really sluggish when I don't have squad sprint. I really like squad sprint as a squad perk, just because I think that faster movement is really it's really just helpful to get from place to place faster. And it's also helpful for just climbing over objects and, you know, through windows and stuff. And there's so many obstacles on these maps that I think that actually really does come in handy. So that's a really good perk to use. Squad cover, I think, is kind of self-explanatory, and squad ammo I've already really talked about. And then I think the fourth squad perk is, you know, it could really be any of the others. But so I kind of got a little off what I wanted to talk about. But what I did want to talk about for the rest of this video was, I think I've started to figure out good ways to play some of these maps. I started to figure out how to have consistent success without dying too many times on these maps, because, you know, when I first started playing these maps, I died a lot. I think I was way too aggressive with the way I was playing. I would just kind of run from flag to flag, and, you know, even if my team had 2 flags, I would just go straight to the third, and it was kind of like I was running in circles, just trying to cap the one flag, or always trying to cap the one flag that my team didn't have. And I've started to play a little bit more patiently now on these maps, And I've started to use loose strategies based on people's tendencies and also based on the spawn system. I know I talked about in my last video how I thought the spawn system was too random, but what I've actually noticed, at least for Donya Fortress, is that there are 3 distinct areas that you're going to spawn in for the most part if you click random spawn. There are those 2 courtyard-like areas that are on either side of the map. They're kind of on the outsides of the map. And then there's also that basement area that connects the B and C flag, and those are the 3 areas that I think, or that I've noticed people spawn in, the majority of the time. And so what I've started to do is I've started to avoid those areas for the most part. I try to make sure that I stay away from them, because I know if I run through those spawn areas, that the chances of somebody spawning behind me and getting an easy kill on me are much higher. But at the same time, knowing that those 3 areas are most likely where the enemy team is going to be spawning, it gives me a better sense of where to expect the enemy team to be coming from, and so that allows me to position myself in an area where I have a better chance to take out the enemy players, and I'm less likely to be caught off guard. Another thing I've noticed about Donya Fortress is that the C flag seems to be a bit of a death trap, and I mean the reason for that is that there are just so many angles that the enemy has on you. If you try to get on that flag, there's the balcony that overlooks the entire flag, so anybody on that 2nd level can see down and shoot down on you. But then there's also 3 doorways on the 1st level, along with the stairs lead up to the balcony, that the enemy could come from and attack you from. And whereas if you look at the B flag or A flag, each of those really only has 2, and the B flag kind of has 3 different ways that you can get to that flag. So the C flag has a lot less cover, and it's a much more dangerous flag to try to take. And so I almost never get on that flag, and you'll kind of see over the course of this gameplay, I don't think I cap it once. The only flags that I really cap are the B and A flag. At the same time though, the C flag is a pretty high traffic zone. A lot of people run through that area, and I don't know if that's a result of the way the spawn system, or where the spawn systems are located, or just the fact that it is a hard flag to take, so you'll often see a lot of players in that area just trying to kind of fight over it. But it is a high traffic zone, so I actually spend a lot of the time during this, or the course of this round, I spend a lot of my time patrolling this area above the C flag, and that room that I just left, I spend a lot of time, or I run through that room quite often, because I know that the chances of me running into an enemy either on that 2nd level or running to C from one of the spawn areas are pretty high. And so right here, actually, I had no idea that guy was there, but knowing that there's a spawn area back there, and that people like to run through that hallway to get to the C flag, I decided to check that area to see if there was somebody running down that hallway. And because I was prepared for there being an enemy in that spot, I was able to take him out instead of just not even checking that area at all. He would have come up behind me and killed me, and it probably would have been a really frustrating death for me. So I mean, that's just an example of how I use my knowledge of the map and knowing the tendencies of the enemy players to my advantage, and I'm able to put myself in a position where that really, I was in a much better situation than he was. He was sprinting towards the flag, whereas I kind of peeked around that corner, and I was in a position where I had a much better chance of taking him out than he did of taking me out. So that's how I started to play this map. I generally just patrol the area around C, and then when I think my team, or when I see that my team's lost one of the other flags, or I think my team needs to capture one of these other flags to get the ticket bleed back on our side, then I'll go after either the A or B flag, because I know that those flags are much easier to take than the C flag is. But that's just about all I wanted to talk about in this video. I thought I'd give you guys a sense of how I've started to try to play this map in particular, and how I've been having success, or more success now than I was when I first started playing these maps, which makes sense, just getting used to the maps as well. But I thought I'd talk a little bit about the strategy that I've been using. And I mean, I don't have the greatest accuracy in the world when it comes to gun skill. I mean, as I talked about earlier, I do have a tendency to spam bullets sometimes, but part of the reason I'm able to have as much success as I do at this game is that I'm able to outsmart my enemies, and so a lot of that is taking into account knowledge of the map and just paying attention to enemies' tendencies, and then using that to your advantage. So anyways, I hope you guys found this video interesting. Let me know what you guys think about it, and otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.